Something about you, your voice is all in my head. All in my head, all in my head. I cannot stop thinking about what we did. Oh, what we did. I just need one more night to beat it up. One more night to beat it up. Your body keep calling, calling my name. Just one more night to beat it up. No more night to beat it up. Have our own private party. Finish what we started, girl.
What's up, everybody? Look, okay, so y'all don't see these, what happens when the cameras are not on. We have some crazy conversations, and we're gonna carry it over into this episode. You're watching another episode of Lipstick Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Tony, and to my left, we have the lovely Shelly Shell. Tell them who you are, girl.
Shelly Shell. I am a host, radio host of Let's Talk Radio, and I'm also gonna be one of the producers on Mermaid Purse, coming soon.
Yeah. Mikkel.
And I'm Michael, and I'm cute.
Ooh. Yes.
Pretty much.
Hey, I'm Miko.
And I'm Dee Rand, the author of Colorful Confessions, which is a self-help book.
Awesome, awesome. So I want to ask you guys a question, and this might seem simple, but how do you identify with being queer, and what does that term mean to you? The
queer.
term queer. Do you identify with that?
I don't like it.
You don't like it?
Really?
Why not?
I don't like, this is just a personal preference. I don't like stuff like girl, queer, queen, stuff like that, because I think those type of terminologies, and I could be wrong and hypocritical, that they take away from the masculinity inside of me that I do enjoy and love, right? I do love that part of me. Although I have such feminine tendencies and feminine natures, I do enjoy the masculine part of me that's there.
I would agree for myself, like, when people say girl or whatever, just because I'm a gay man doesn't mean I like being called girl.
Yeah.
However, I do think that I can appreciate the term queer because it kind of encompasses all of it to me. Like, oh, well, instead of kind of labeling me so specifically as, you know, femme gay or butch gay or whatever, I can just be queer and you can take that.
Take it how you will.
Whatever you want to do with that, that's what you can do with it.
It's cool. Like I do like it because the acronym, the gay acronym, was getting out of hand. LGBTQIAA.
Yeah.
PK plus sign, which I thought was everything, but it was still stuff after the plus sign. It was getting overwhelming. So
even for us.
Yeah, so I did like queer when it came around. I was like, okay, because you could eliminate all of those unnecessary subtitles and sub-labels. Just one, we're queer.
And you, lovely, what do you think about all of that?
I've never called myself a queer woman. So I don't know, like this, you asking me that question is the first time I actually thought about it. I mean, queer is cool, but I'm Miko. I'm a lesbian.
That's kind of how I
just
feel.
always say I'm a lesbian, but I mean, I never really used the terminology. So I mean, I never saw a problem with it. But
Okay, that's what I was gonna ask you.
Yeah, in my own life, I never used it.
Right.
But you don't find it offensive.
Right, if somebody called you queer. So if somebody called you queer, you wouldn't like it.
But I'm also not the type of person to be like, don't call me that, right? I'm not that type of person, but would it not, it wouldn't resonate with my spirit. No, it would not.
Yeah.
So here's a question that actually one of my friends who watches the show.
How do you feel about the word?
Oh, how do I feel about the word? You know, it reminds me of like a gay guy smoking cigarettes in London at a phone booth. When I hear the word queer, like that's what I see.
Yes.
It's like she was giving, like,
I
see like a phone booth and a guy with a bunch of cigarettes.
Yes, that's how I think about some old school. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it reminds me of. So I don't. It
That's
doesn't
interesting.
really.
It doesn't.
I know. I'm weird.
I didn't see the British guy at that smoking at a people.
I can't explain why that's the visual I use.
I think the reason why I like the term queer is because as a Scorpio, I like to have mystery about myself. So many fucking Scorpios. But I like to have a bit of mystery about myself. So if I say I'm queer, you don't know what I mean.
Exactly.
And so
now you have to investigate.
Now you have to like investigate. I'm not gonna give it to you just all willy.
You are very mysterious.
I know.
The fan and all.
I know. Where'd the fan go? Pull it out. Can you do it the way you?
Okay, come on, show us.
Come on, you
There's
gotta
a
do.
technique.
Okay, because yes, if you have one of them fans and you can't do that, you're faking. You're
Where
faking.
do you keep these fans? You have like
I have a
extra
drawer.
pockets? Oh, okay.
Ooh, a drawer of fans.
Drawer fans.
Cute.
I mean, I work with RuPaul, so I have to.
Oh, okay, so you
got
got that.
Okay, it's only right.
It just comes.
I have to.
Comes in the goodbye bag. Like, thanks for today's work. Here's your fan. Here's your daily fan.
Here's some fans.
So a friend of mine who watches the show asked me, do you think that lesbians, bisexuals, and gay people should be 3 different categories? And his explanation for this was that the male and male experience is a completely different experience than the female to female experience. So should we categorize them all as the same thing, or should they be completely separate categories and experiences? Because he's saying it's apples and oranges.
Yes.
How do you feel about that?
It's an umbrella.
Absolutely, because I had someone call me, and I won't say who it is. They called me because they have a hard time wrapping their mind around transgenderism, or a person who's transgender. And they called me to explain it to them, and I'm like, how would I? I'm not transgender. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, they was like, well, you kind of in that same. And I'm like, no, that's like saying just because you black from Africa and you black from, then y'all should be able to know each other. Like, that's not the same. That's not the same thing. So I do think that, and that's why I probably don't. Now I think about it, don't like queer and stuff that encompasses everybody, because it makes it seem like everybody's the same within the community when it's not. Lesbians have a very different experience than gay men, who has a very different experience than bisexual men, who have a very different experience than bisexual women and transgender women and transgender men. Right? They are very different people within the same cohort, but different sectors of it.
Yeah.
But that's what I like about the umbrella, though, is because now I don't have to exhibit any specific label. I can just be, that I'm not binary and I'm doing my own thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think that's more like your marketing mind, because then, you have to have a niche in marketing. What's your niche?
Yes.
And so for you, being queer is like, I don't know what your niche is.
Yes.
Well, I don't necessarily think it's the niche. I agree, since we do have very different experiences, because just like, for me or for a transgender woman, how they have the women who are being murdered. And when gay women come out or lesbian women come out, people are more intrigued. It's more accepted. It's like it's a bias toward. Yeah, it's like, ooh, because we're turned on by. But if there's 2 gay men kissing, we don't want them kissing in public. Well, not me, but people have a problem with it. So I feel like the experience is completely different. So to relate us, just how we were talking about earlier about colorism, like how for your dark skin, your reality is different than someone who is light skinned. So to put me in that same category with,
But I think that can lean into a bit of divisiveness that can be detrimental to the community.
You're talking about within the queer community.
Within the queer community.
In the black community, I definitely feel that way in the black community.
In the black community,
in the queer community, I was like, well.
But in the queer community, I think that there's divisiveness that even just in gay culture or lesbian culture, like there's divisiveness because of these labels.
But what do you think is the cause of? Do you think that people accept the divisiveness?
I think
because
that they do.
There needs to be a hierarchy.
I think that they accept it because then it means you don't have to understand the other person. Like if I'm just like, trans people are trans people, then I don't have to put a whole lot of energy into trying to understand their experience.
I agree.
But when I'm like, well, we are humans who are experiencing this wide kind of array of sexual appetites, sexual preferences, then I can begin to understand them. Oh, you're experiencing something that is seen as not normal. I'm experiencing something in my preference for men that is seen as not normal. So we can meet there and begin to unpack each other's experiences, as opposed to me going, the trans hang out over there, and and the gays hang out over here. We section off West Hollywood, and we have nights for this kind of person and this kind of person.
To a point, and let me just say this: that we are all primal. I mean, have animalistic instincts at the end of the day, right? Because we have primal instincts, and so through life, you have to be able to run through life with a certain distinctiveness of predator-prey, right? It's a book I can't remember the book that talks about this. You have to be able to run through life to see eat or be eaten, right? That's how we categorize things.
And do you feel like there's no middle ground with that? It's either eat or be eaten all the time?
I don't know to that point, but I will say the reason why I why I think those boundaries or those pockets are needed is just like a lion who you need to assess certain situations at certain different times to see what's happening, to see how stuff is going. Now, what happens is people take that to the extreme, and that's when prejudice comes into play. But it's definitely needed to keep culture, to keep balance in society, to keep things flowing, so I can articulate to you what I am and what I'm doing, so you can articulate to me what you are and what you're doing. We need to have some type of reference base, or else everybody can just do whatever that they want to do, and how and lines can be blurred.
But the lines are blurred already.
What's wrong with that, though? What's wrong with a world where we actually do live and where my articulation is just my expression? It's just feeling. Maybe I don't want to. Maybe I don't feel necessarily like any of these actually encompass who I am. You know what I mean? And that's what I like about the umbrella of queer, is because it's more of an experience. It's not like you're this type of person, you're this type of person. And I mean, from my experience and what I've understand, trans is not even a sexuality. So I like the fact that the trans experience has been sexualized, and it's not a sexuality at all. It's a biological.
That's a great point.
Yes. So I feel like queer allows them who have been ostracized and exiled to be a part of this movement as well, without us, you know what I'm saying, picking apart body parts and looking about all of this. You understand queer is an experience.
Yeah.
Right. I think I would agree with that because, you know, whatever your orientation or ethnicity or whatever, you're always taught to pick a label and stick to it.
Even no right to change your mind.
Even if you don't feel like this label is 100%.
This is what you're closest to, so.
You're closest to this. I mean, being a biracial person, you're like, which one you're going to pick?
Exactly.
And we don't even really have the freedom
Right. And that's why we were talking about that. That's why people they get mad when you're like, you're black, because biracial people a lot of biracial people stick to the black side only. But you're white as well. Or you're Indian as well. Or you're something else as well. Like, they're both. There's a duality again.
You can have a duality, but it depends on culturally as well. It's what you, just like you say, okay, that's like telling, to me, no offense, anyone, but how we're just saying the trans community. You can't sit up here and tell a male to female that female is, oh, you're still a man. You still have, it's what you and you're relating to. So for me, I was raised in a black family. I have none of my other family members. I don't see any white family members. That's not who I am.
Your cultural context is African American.
So I'm not going to sit here and say, hey, I'm going to walk up to you and go, hey, I'm white and I'm this, because I'm not.
You can't identify with that culture.
To be real with you guys, in America, I mean, on our birth certificates, if one of your parents was black, that was what they put on the birth certificate, correct?
My mother was.
So that's, you know, and that was as a means of, that stemmed from white supremacy, and it stemmed from origins of racism that wanted to make sure they knew who they were dealing with and what their gene pool entailed. And so I think that's caused a lot of trauma and a lot of confusion in our society, and it's trickled over into the queer community as well, because we're so used to categorizing.
And I think that's why I appreciate the work.
Yeah, because it's the same thing. If you could be black and biracial, then people could be queer and
Even with this show, I, you know, was nervous about coming and being a part of this show because I knew this is a space for the woman, the lesbian experience, and I didn't want to infringe on that. And but then I was like, you know, I was talking to Steven, and we were, you know, is there a need for a male perspective in this situation? Not necessarily, but it would open up the conversation more. And that's why I have such a problem with divisiveness, is because the conversation becomes stunted when you're like, oh, I'm this. And so I can only be categorized, I can only be related to under this label.
Let me say this. I think that there is a difference between boundaries and boxes and labels and all that type of stuff, between that and being stuck in that, right? So I do firmly believe that boundaries and labels and boxes and stuff need to exist, because that's how people need to be able to move through the world to see where they're going, left, right, this way, right? The problem comes when you feel like you have to stick in one of those boxes, right? I do believe that boxes and labels exist, and they exist for a reason, for articulation purposes and for people to understand. And so when a kid is coming up, they can have some type of reference and stuff like that.
To be able to find
But
their
you could be able to
You
maneuver
gotta jump
through
in and out
those
of each
boxes.
box.
Right, but you can maneuver through those boxes as you feel. The problem with society, I feel like, is that we say, here's boxes, you have to stay in the box. Or on the other side of this, like, we don't need no boxes, so you can scatter and do whatever you want to do, right? In my mind, it's like, no, why can't we meet in the middle? Like, we do need boxes. That's how our society has been living for so long. So something to it, but allow us the freedom to be able to maneuver through the boxes as we want to.
I want the boxes to be deleted. I totally disagree. I feel like we have lived in boxes, and look where our society is.
Gotcha.
Like, it hasn't really done any good.
Why not? We have a full flourishing society. I mean, if you're looking across the board, there's good and
what makes
bad
a society
to every
flourish to you?
That we are not in a third world country, right? That we have economic stability, that we have laws and stuff in place. Now,
But
there's good and bad to everything.
There's good and bad to everything. I agree. So I normally say I don't like boxes, but after hearing what he's saying, I agree. Maybe our boxes should not have all
Solid
4 walls.
lines.
You know what I'm saying? Like, all 4 walls.
Yeah.
Maybe
That's
one
a good
wall should be,
point.
that way you can be able to travel, because you do have to see, that's like saying.
We're getting away from free will, though. Like, we're getting so, and
Why
that's
do you
what
say that? I'm very interested. Why do you say that?
we're getting so away from free will because every box is a direction. You said we need these boxes for direction, and that's exactly what it is. It's like playing Monopoly, well, not Monopoly, but like Life. Remember Life?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so you're telling me that because I land here in this box, I have to go this way?
No. So, okay, now let me say this. What I'm saying is right now, as society is set up for so long, that's how it's been. And what I'm saying is when I land here, allow me the room to be able to go backwards, sideways, or left.
Yes.
But
right?
do you
so
realize
we have direction on
the
where we're
direction
going.
comes from that box?
If
that
we
box
put the
never
direction there.
existed, you wouldn't have a
how would you
fork
have
in the road.
structure?
But
How would
You
you
wouldn't have a
Right,
a
but I
fork
fall
in
in
the
the
road.
box of being black. I can't change that. You can, there's no, even if we say there's no boxes, you are born into something.
I'm not.
So it has to be
I
able
agree
Because
that
that box
there
was
are
already,
boxes.
because the box was already created. You know what I'm
Right,
saying? Now
correct.
you have to be born into that. If that box wasn't there, you wouldn't even have those problems.
So now
you could
here's
just
my
be a
question.
beautiful
Wait, wait.
human being.
But
Okay,
you
wait,
would
wait.
see, I think no matter what, everyone's
But I think
seeing.
race,
But
the
what is
definition of race was something that was created.
That's
I
a
would agree with you on
creation.
that.
Racism is a
I do,
creation.
because
Like,
I mean, do animals see each other in that?
Exactly.
But animals, yes, but
they do.
animals see each other.
They do.
Here's the thing.
A
Their
lion is not
natural
going to be running around with a cheetah.
No, I'm
Yeah,
saying, but
they
if a lion
understand their
has a
past.
brown tail and then another lion has a light brown tail, do they even
What you're
know
getting
this?
to, that would be considered.
I've seen cases of animals kicking other animals out of their
Because of a different physical
thing.
So that doesn't
So,
exist.
but what you're getting in, that would be more so categorized more into like looking at colorism and stuff like
Which
that,
is
not
our next
necessarily
topic.
race.
Our next topic is colorism, actually, and I want to ask you all, have you been a victim of, or have you experienced or witnessed colorism, and how has it affected your life and the way that you make decisions, whether it's in relationships, whether it's in business, or just even certain social settings that you put yourself into? I'm going to start with you.
Hell yeah, I mean, we're in America. Colorism began here. We have had the longest history of colorism. My whole life has been everybody's life. You know what I'm saying? The fact that my father, was in the army and my mom had to work hard and she was a single mom, all of those are effects of colorism. And that's why I'm so against boxes, because it's just...
It affected you negatively.
Do you
affected
think that
me.
as a darker-skinned woman that people
Sweetie,
treat
this is
you...
milk chocolate.
Come on.
So the light's not working in here because
as a milk
this is
chocolate,
deep caramel
as
on a good
deep
day.
caramel woman.
This is, you know what I'm saying?
But do you feel like you've been treated differently than you would as maybe one of your friends who was like, had a parent that was white, that was super, super fair-skinned?
Well,
do
see-
you notice a difference in the way that society has treated you?
There's different aspects to everything. So whereas I have this color, my size also affects how I'm perceived in an environment. So
What
I'm
do you mean?
I'm a big woman.
Okay.
So it's like,
fine woman.
yeah, so I'm tall, I'm voluptuous. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Go ahead and twerk for that. So that also plays a part as to how they see me. It's not just one thing ever. And that's what these boxes do. They just.
So can I ask you a question? Because, and this is, I don't know how to ask it without just going straight.
Just ask me, yeah.
Because in your perception, the boxes have stacked against you.
Yes.
Do you think that that's why you're against boxes?
That's exactly why I'm against boxes.
So then I would say this, that maybe and this is just my assumption, is that maybe boxes are not wrong, but the way that your cards were dealt to you made you see them as wrong.
I think what's wrong
could you
about
see that?
boxes is that the boxes that you
They're subjective,
they're-
right?
the
Yes,
boxes-
which that is a
But
part
the
to it,
issue
too.
with boxes is in a lot of our cases is you're in this box, and then because you're in this box, everyone else that you're relating to is then being told this is how you're supposed to relate to.
And these boxes
So if
were
I'm a
created
bigger
by white
person,
male supremacy.
yeah, if I'm a bigger person, then the rest of the world is being conditioned to treat me in a certain way because of this box.
So that goes into marketing and what they've exploited boxes.
Right.
But when you're born, back to what Mika was saying, when you're born and you have to be checked off something, the reason why that's important is because now we're getting into genetics. Now we're getting into what's HIV is more prominent in African Americans than it is for somebody else. Then it's getting into stuff like that that's needed for those boxes, so we can.
Those are more
help
things
people.
that were created because of boxes.
But here's the thing: when
like, it's just
agree with her on
like
that.
it's just you're gonna keep getting back to the boxes being a problem.
Even like, let's say we talk about high blood pressure and stuff like that. Even though that stuff was maybe created, however it was created, we're past the point of creation, right? So here's what we have, and here's what we have to deal with. So we have an African American little girl that's born. We know statistically or genetically she's going to be more predisposed to hypertension. She's going to be pre-exposed to high blood pressure, HIV, certain things like that. And the only way we can connect those dots and verbally be able to express that is through this box.
Okay, how many cures have we had with these boxes?
Now that's a different question. Now that's
Well,
a different
now
story.
we're connecting this because of genetics, and we need to know this. What are we doing with that? We're not curing shit with that information. That's why these boxes are not important.
Because what all you're gonna get is, oh, you might get hypertension.
Yeah,
and that's
then,
it. Okay, thank you for letting me know that.
Thank you.
So is that a problem with the box, or is that a problem with people are doing with the information in the box?
Because
It's
if
the box.
No, because if you're told that, like when we're talking about like the high blood pressure or cholesterol, things like that, then you know.
These are the
There's
precautions.
precautions you can take.
Right.
And you know, because you're in that box, you're probably not going to get the health insurance that it takes to cure that.
Well, that's
Not cure, but we're saying,
Or
we're talking
treat
about we're talking about the being preventative versus the after.
Correct.
So if you know ahead of time because you fit in that box, they've told you what you are, you can be preventative.
And I
is what
think
he's saying.
that I would agree with that coming from a family of multi-generations of diabetes and things of that.
Me too.
And I'm just like, okay, well, I'm not gonna not
But
have
those
the diet
diseases
that
are
they
also a
have.
direct result of
The boxes.
Of the boxes. I agree.
that
Of the
led to
food that we've gotten because of the
I
boxes.
100%
Exactly.
agree.
What I'm saying
It's
is
a catch-22.
what I'm saying is what you guys are describing, because we're describing almost two different stages, right? What you're describing is the creation of the box and why these things were created. What I'm saying is I understand that.
She's saying
the
it already
box
exists now.
is already exists, and this is how do we deal with something that already exists. It's too hard to go back and undo, right? So now how
Burn the
do
whole
we
shit,
maneuver?
burn the
That's what I'm saying. Throw the whole box out.
Burn
Like,
it
yeah.
Burn it down. Anarchy.
Anarchy. We do not support anarchy, at least not this week. But, so we talked about colorism, and obviously it has affected all of us in a way. And the one thing I noticed is that even in Asian and Indian cultures, a lot of friends that I have in those cultures experience that as well. I work with a company that deals with medicine, and one of the vitamins in the cocktail IV that's supposed to replenish your body, it's glutathione, and it actually has a whitening complex.
Say it one more time.
It's called glutathione, and it's a vitamin that actually lightens the skin. And one of the women who was helping us, like, talking to us about the vitamins and how they were going to replenish us, was saying that she's Vietnamese and that people in her culture do this every week to have fair skin. And so as
Is it detrimental?
No, it's not. But as she was telling me this, I felt like, so are you...
She trying to fit
the
into a box.
energy, yeah, and then I'm like, well, what do you think of me if you're lightening your skin every week, and now you're putting this IV in my arm, and you're telling me that, oh, you should be glad because it has a skin lightening effect. And I'm just like, what? Like, she didn't even process
How you could take that.
with, like, the impact of what she was saying
Because
and how...
in her mind and in the mind of people at large,
Yes, that was what she
want to be
believed.
light. You want to be lighter.
I'm helping you out, girl. I'm doing you a favor.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm just
hello.
Right.
it was just really awkward.
I lived in Thailand, and they're really big. Like, they elevate the fair-skinned people
Oh, yeah.
to ridiculous degrees.
It's really interesting.
And to the point where they're walking around with umbrellas all the time.
No facts.
And when I was over there with a bunch of friends, and one of my friends is really a dark-skinned guy, and they would come up to me and be like, "What's wrong with his skin? Like,
Are you
what's
serious?
wrong? What's wrong?" And I'm just like,
crazy.
"Have you not seen black people?
Do you watch
What-
TV?
What?
They're like,
What?
not if it's not white people on TV. Like,
And they're like, "What's wrong? What's wrong with his skin?" And I was like, "He's black. What do you think? Are you asking someone what's wrong with my skin?
Yeah.
What's the problem? But because my complexion fits with their hue, like there's
Yeah.
there's
A hierarchy. There's a hierarchy.
There's a hue of
Facts.
Thai people from light to probably my complexion, and so they understand this more than they understand the darker complexions, and they were like, "What's wrong?" And I was like, "Nothing's wrong.
Yeah.
What do you mean?"
Yeah.
But so I have I mean, and y'all can tell me if I'm totally like wrong, since we're talking about colorism and stuff like that. If a person has a preference based off color, does that make it?
Well, a preference is different than being discriminatory. And I think whatever your preference is, that's fine, but you don't need to discredit other people in order to justify your preference. Like, for example, I've had friends who they're like, oh, I only date, white women or white men or whatever. And I'm like, and that's fine, but you don't need to talk shit about Black or Asian or Latinas because that's your preference. Don't justify your preference by degrading other people.
You don't have to
just like what you like.
You don't have to justify your preference.
At all.
It's just
at
what it
all.
is.
Okay.
Like we were talking about what your experience was. So I feel like in our community, because we have such a divisiveness with colorism, growing up, I felt like if I ever had a baby, I would make sure that the donor was dark skinned because I wanted a child who was darker than me. I didn't want a child to experience the you're not black enough or you're not this or you're not that. So I felt like for the longest I was like, no, this is what it has to be. And even playing into the not fitting in or not saying you're biracial or this is because the moment that you do say, then you aren't black.
Yeah.
And it can't be, okay, yes, this is what happened. And I give this whole speech when we're talking about like slavery times. Ain't none of us 100% because everybody was raping everybody. Yeah. So it falls somewhere in there and it's like, oh, well, you can't be this. And I just feel like the colorism, the divisiveness comes when it's beneficial because everybody I know said their president was black. But last time I checked, his mama was white. And nobody was like, and they got mad when a white person would say, oh, well, he does have a white mom. Now you're mad about him, like them pointing it out. But it's when you see me, you want to say something else. Or when we saw Meghan, when she married into royalty, this black woman married into royalty. But you guys aren't saying, oh, she's black and white. You know what I'm saying? So I just feel like.
So does that are you saying that devalues their other side? So like if the white people was to say, no, we have a white president in the White House, would that devalue?
But what I'm saying is
both right.
But what I'm saying is according to most of our black people, when it's me saying I'm black,
no, you're right about that.
I'm white.
No, you're right because when I would say that about Obama, I would get like a bad flack from it.
But the thing is, that brings us
but
back
for
to
Obama,
the
when
fact.
it goes to Obama, they're like, oh no, he's black, and it's like, well, why can't you say that he's also white when you
I
want
said
me to
that
say
all the time. I was like, Obama is half white too.
It brings us back to the fact that dark skin tones are perceived as a negative thing by society and cultures all over the world, and it's been used as an oppressive tool, and so it does, at least from my experience. I mean, when I wake up in the morning, I'm not like, oh, I'm black today, or I'm mixed today, I'm Mexican today. I'm aware that I'm alive, but it's the rest of society that points that blackness out.
Right.
And it's interesting because part of white privilege is the fact that you don't have to be aware of your whiteness in your existence. You can just navigate through society and be whoever you are, and nobody's pointing out your whiteness on a regular basis.
I point it out every time I see you white.
Every room you walk into, the first thing they notice is that one of your parents might be black, or you're black, or you're
What are you?
And it's like,
Right.
You're so pretty. What are you mixed with?
Right. Oh my God.
And I've gotten that question, and I'm always like, "You want to see my parents?" Like, I have.
And I can't just
They're
be
black.
prejudiced because
I'm black.
British.
Right.
They're like, "Well, how?"
But part of that is
how?
we have to appreciate each other's
Differences, right?
Yeah, and I'm just using boxes because that's what we talked about. I think a lot of it is being able to appreciate the different boxes. So even if I don't fit into this box, right? Like, because the furthest thing from me, and we're looking at it in terms of boxes, would be a straight white woman, right? If we're going just in that direction. And so instead of me looking at this straight white woman as like, girl, you know you're a white woman, you can't cook and blah, blah, blah,
Yeah,
or her looking at me as a
power in
bisexual
it.
black, I appreciate
Of course.
what a straight white woman can bring to the table in our country. I appreciate that box. I appreciate what's happening, and that allows for fluidity to happen. It's
But
the problem once we come to be divisive and like, I don't appreciate what's in that box, or my box is higher than this box.
Absolutely.
The majority is not what you're saying. That's why I think that we have issue with the box.
Yeah, that's what he's saying.
Because you're a minority in that mindset.
Yes.
But that's what he's saying. He said that's the problem. He said people should feel this way. Like people shouldn't be so divisive.
And so
But see,
then that
then
goes back to the boxes and saying, okay, if the natural
Who created these goddamn boxes?
Fuck these
if
boxes.
the natural inclination of humans is to not appreciate what's in the opposing box, then why shouldn't we burn the bitch down?
Right.
Because
I'm
then
worried
here's my
about
question. This is what I
But
always tell a person.
is that the natural? Was that the natural thing though?
I mean,
don't
like
think
at this
it
point,
really
I don't
was.
think.
Yeah.
At this point, it's like,
it
well,
might not. But it wasn't.
But I always ask this question to a person who has a problem with any type of systematic form. What would you do in place of it? Because to come up with something and say something's a problem and not have a solution, you just complain.
My solution is to burn the bitch down and start over. Like,
Yes.
What would that look like?
I mean, like I think that
But
systems are
we
necessary.
have to die too?
I
Because
think
we already got that mindset. People.
Yes, bitch, we
It
have
has
to
to
die.
be. It has to be a paradigm shift.
I don't want to die,
In
guys.
consciousness and deliberate movements, it has to be a whole shift in what we do, what we eat, the things that we know are not real, the things that we know are systematic. It has to be and this is why we've been experiencing the same shit over and over again.
So the red pill or the blue pill, because we're kind of in the matrix.
How
Everything
about
tastes like
just
chicken.
crystals instead?
Well, let me ask this question on a much deeper level. So let's say, and I'm gonna go down this trail of like, okay, we need to burn it down. We need to start over, have a renewal. How we do it, that's a different topic. What would the other side of that look like to you two? That's what I don't understand. What would that actually look like?
Because of human nature, it'll eventually look just like this.
That's what I'm saying. So what's the point of going through that versus trying to adjust what we have?
My complaining about the boxes is more to say there's a problem, not to say that systems aren't necessary, or to say that categorization doesn't have its benefit. I'm saying where we've come since the inception of
the box
culture in general, because I think that
I like box too, because it's like a slang for pussy. And y'all have totally killed boxes for me, and I'm just like, how am I gonna get laid tonight if I can't even get rid of this box?
All right, y'all. So if you're watching, we want to know what you think about this too. Please leave your comments below. You can slide in our DMs. We want to know what you think. And I hate to cut you off, but we're gonna move on to the next topic, okay?
Okay.
So last episode,
It better not be a box. It better not be.
I promise. I promise.
Triangle this time.
Okay, a different shape. Let's do some other
So
shape.
last episode, we were talking a lot about like slang terms within the lesbian community. So now I want to give you little beefcakes a chance to talk about.
I'm a beefcake.
Beefcake? We're gonna start with the first term, beefcake. If you know what that means, raise your hand.
Oh, I got that.
I mean, I have
Okay, go ahead.
It's some things you get from a Jamaican spot.
That's a beef patty, bitch.
Okay.
It's a beef patty.
Nah, I ain't gonna
Go ahead. Go ahead.
As a beefcake, like a very strapping, handsome, muscular, thickums guy.
Thickums, I was thinking that.
Because she described you as beefcake, huh?
What that meant was.
Is it a
He
dude
was
with
like,
that
whoa.
ass?
I mean, he could have that ass.
That ass.
But so, yeah.
Yeah.
So this, it defines beefcake as a man who spends most of his time in the gym and the
Gotcha.
rest of it scooping spoonfuls of protein supplement into his post-workout shakes. So are you a beefcake?
I'm on my way.
Oh, okay. You eat at the half a spoon?
Yeah, I'm a chicken right now, but I'm always be a beefcake.
Okay,
That's chicken cake.
Okay, so the next term, bottom.
Oh, everybody knows that.
I know that one.
Well, explain it to somebody who might not understand, just in case.
You are on the receiving end of the gay relationship. You are on the bottom.
Or the top.
You don't have to be on the bottom if you're a bottom. Yeah,
You
you
can be on the
yeah.
top. Y'all
Make it work from the top.
Hi. You can sit on my face and be a bottom. I'm sorry. I thought because you had started it. You had started it.
Okay,
Tempt me with a good time.
We got to switch this up a little bit.
Bottom, the receptive sexual partner, also known as someone who likes taking it in.
Oh.
I didn't write it. I just read it.
They got a little aggressive.
They gotta be a receptacle though. That was kind of
The next one.
okay.
Chubby chaser.
Hey, where y'all at? Hey.
We got them on everybody. We got them in the straight world, the gay world. You got the.
They out ya. They out ya.
We all know a Chevy Chase.
Yeah, these is my favorites.
That's people who that's people who
Appreciate.
like and appreciate
Yes.
thicker, more
Yes.
voluptuous
Yes.
people.
Yes.
People with that ass.
I'm on that
You
new.
don't even want to show y'all because this show ain't about
Yeah.
Well, according to Google, it is a gay man who likes his sexual partners like he likes his pillows, soft and cuddly.
That's a good.
That was cute.
That's cute.
That's cute.
All right, hold on.
That's like the Disney version of
Hey.
I think you guys are gonna like the next one.
Okay, what is it?
It made you laugh.
dumb.
Made you giggle.
Zaddy.
Zaddy.
That's me again. What is this? Oh, my bad.
How do you define a zaddy or zaddy?
I'm a zaddy.
Oh, you are. Tell
I'm a
us
zaddy.
more.
I don't know if I am or not, because I'm not
So
familiar.
every now and then, I make my girlfriend call me Zet. Okay, I'm just playing because she can kick my ass.
Look at her face.
Her girlfriend is
She's sitting over
So her girlfriend
there.
was here to monitor her because she got. No, I'm just kidding. She's just here to say hello.
Okay, I guess I'm not a zaddy.
I gotta know what a zaddy, because I wear zaddy.
wanna see if
I
I'm
wear
a zaddy.
zaddy.
Okay,
A
tell us what you
zaddy,
see.
an older, established man who likes his scotch aged and his boys young.
Zaddy.
Oh, that's a zaddy?
Zaddy.
You dress like a zaddy right now, though, with
It
the
is.
shoes.
It is.
So basically like a sugar daddy.
That's not what that
LA
means in a
culture-
lesbian.
What does it mean in the lesbian community?
A lesbian, from what I understand, because I got zaddy shorts and basketball shorts, it can't mean that. From what I understand.
I know all right
Yeah, I hope that's not what I'm saying.
Right.
Yeah, I'm about to throw all that shit away.
I got a zaddy shirt too.
Yeah.
on over and
So
sit
I
next
just
to
thought
Zaddy.
zaddy was just like some swag, like a
I mean, I think that it's becoming that.
Damn zaddy.
But
A
the
swaggy
original,
masculine
Yeah.
woman in our world. It's like a
Zam
swaggy
zaddy.
masculine woman.
the
Damn.
original term for zaddy came from
Zaddy.
in
With a
LA
TH.
gay culture. It is almost a rite of passage for someone to go from being a young gay person to being a zaddy.
Oh, so the torch
Do you
is
look
passed.
forward to that? Do you like that term?
No, I don't. I'm never gonna be a zaddy
That
because I
me
got a
neither.
man
Okay,
that's the
but
same age
listen.
as me, and we good.
But
We
listen.
building together. A zaddy is someone
So-
who's like, I need something young,
The difference,
tenderoni.
I think the difference is because it's a daddy in that aspect, but we changed it and added the Z, for us
Women, yeah, that's what I-
the
yeah.
masculine,
That's it for us, man. You better get me that.
the masculine,
Z makes it
swaggy
different.
women.
Zaddy.
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 So what's the difference between a daddy and a zaddy with a ZTH?
I think a zaddy is the swag, and a
Okay.
daddy is a mature male who's willing to take on a cub. And
I'm
I
not
thought
doing
daddy
all
was
that.
sexual, because that's the only time I hear it. Like, I thought it was a sexual.
it is.
We're
It's
gonna
a
get you
sexual-
out in these
It's
streets.
a sexual. It's a sexual
Daddy, Poppy, what
proclivity.
you trying to be called?
All
It's a
of it.
sexual proclivity
Yeah.
of older men who prefer younger guys.
Kind of like we got them sugar babies,
Sugar- I mean, it's
it
that.
came, it
It's
came,
that.
but you get.
I had a
that.
Splenda daddy once.
A
Linda,
Splenda.
that's
He didn't
Brooks.
have enough.
He didn't have no money.
I was like, what do you mean I gotta come pick you up?
The Tiva daddies out here. The TV daddies.
Where's my allowance? Yeah.
Sweet love daddies. Splendor daddies.
Got a little
God
sweet.
damn.
Right? I was like,
Imitation money, huh?
it's the same.
Right.
That's not fair. That's not right. That's not right.
So this term I've never heard of, okay, when they say a man is looking for networking.
That means if you are out here in these streets trying to do some things.
Oh. Thoughting?
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 Oh, networking.
Networking.
Oh, I see.
It says a man who travels a lot and is on the lookout for vacation flings.
Oh.
He won't ever call you back.
Hey, looking for
They
to do
said
some
that. It literally
things.
says he won't
I'm telling
ever call you
down
back.
Rodeo Drive, Pretty Woman
Listen.
style.
Listen,
You know what I'm saying?
that's because he's been all over the world.
I'm trying.
His
These shoes ain't free.
And they not inexpensive either. Them
I'm trying to
motherfuckers.
tell you. No, I'm just joking. No, but yes, I get you.
crystals.
So are there people out there looking for networking in the lesbian communities as well?
I mean, there's some holes everywhere.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Hoes in different area
homosexuals.
codes.
Where exactly?
Are these holes?
We'll drop you a pin.
Please drop that pen. Nah, I don't know. I think female is just more emotional. I think it's all just more emotional.
Yeah, I will say female, especially what I've noticed
Girls
with
hook up too.
lesbians, It's a lot more emotion involved. I'm talking about on an overarching thing. I've realized that with female relationships,
Yeah,
it
it's
seems like
more
it's very
emotional.
much more emotional.
You gotta think about it. Even when a female in any relationship is emotional, so now you got two of them. It's double.
Yeah.
But women hook up too.
They do,
Women-
but it's
Absolutely.
but you
Yeah.
know what?
Throwing that pussy on
Pussy
mouths
is not even
sometimes.
as good unless the
Please give me these
emotions
numbers
come
that
along
you're
with it, though.
This is true.
Hooking up don't even benefit us because the pussy not even good if she don't
spreadsheets.
care about you. The good pussy comes from when she really cares, she's invested. That's when that shit starts.
Have you
dripping.
never had sex with a female one time and it was just like some bomb ass sex and it wasn't somebody that you was all in love with or she wasn't all in love with you?
But see,
Has it happened?
Wait,
Yes
oh,
or
yes,
no?
it
yes.
has, but love doesn't dictate. You know what I'm saying? Emotion. So
So you're saying they're two separate things.
there's intimacy.
I think it's
There's
passion.
a trust level, passion.
I think because you can be
There's
passionate
different
with somebody
aspects.
that you're not really emotionally
Yeah, you can
connected
talk.
to.
You ever like
That's
met
true.
somebody and then y'all just having this bomb conversation? And
Right.
just instant
Don't be looking
chemistry.
at me
You know what I'm
like
saying?
that
You're like,
with
damn,
those
that's crazy.
She checking them
And then
titties
we
out.
go back to the. I
She
know the
checking them
titties.
titties out.
I'm trying to get a reason to look at them. So then you be like, take them back. But because y'all had that cool connection, it's not love. The sex is still bomb because the emotions are there. You can't. It's hard to just.
So emotions
also-
and love, you're saying can either be one and the
I
same
call
or
that
separate.
passion more than. Yeah.
Because, but also, you think we're cancers, right? So, because as cancers, we're look.
I'm the only Aries here, sitting in the middle of all.
What are you?
I'm an Aries.
She's Aries. Too.
Oh no! Oh Lord! Somebody help us.
Cancer.
Cancer baby right here.
We got two Scorpios, and you know what they say? Cancers are the best match for Scorpios.
Interesting.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
I've dated a Scorpio before. It was cool.
I've
It was
never.
cool.
Yeah,
It changed
that-
it.
Right? That was. It was cool. I was shocked that it was cool.
Listen,
cool.
listen, my baby is a Sagittarius, and that's all I'm gonna say.
How is that possible?
I vibe with
That's what I'm trying to
I
figure
really do.
out.
I really
Sagittarius
do.
are cool.
So I'm in the middle of a rock and a hard place, literally. I'm
But I heard
dealing
you
with
like
two
stuff like
Virgos.
that. I heard you like stuff like that.
I'm dealing with two Virgos. One is a male, one is a female. And I have to say that the depth of my connection with the female, it's just like, I cannot even, words can't even express how deep it is. And but then my male Virgo, I feel like sometimes he's a bit non-expressive with his love and emotion, and it makes me feel insecure because I'm like, well, how do you really feel? And I don't like that.
But you stay intrigued though, right?
Yeah, like I'm chasing now.
Yeah, exactly.
I say convince them to be in a poly relationship.
I tried. Yeah.
It's not happening with her. She
well,
doesn't want
because
it.
the female is
Yeah.
the first woman she's ever really had anything like this with, and I think she's a little overwhelmed. And then
And
he's
then people
like,
think you always try to make a threesome out of shit. People
yeah,
don't
which
like
isn't
that.
the case. I like having my cake on both plates, on two separate
Right.
plates.
It's no fun having cake if you can't eat it. So
Well,
I
I've
hate
been
that
eating
saying
the cake.
you can have your cake, eat it
Eat
too.
the
If I
cake,
got the
anime.
cake, I'm gonna
I'm
eat
fucking
it.
eating the cake.
If I got the cake, I'm gonna eat that shit.
That's
All
crazy.
right, y'all. This has been a really, really, really fun episode. We love you guys so much. The next episode, we're going to be talking about some gay pride issues and how much money we spend on it. So stay tuned and make sure you come back. Leave your comments. You can slide in our DMs, respectfully, of course, because we
You
don't
don't
want
have
to
to
have to put... Oh, she said you don't have to respect hers. But
Respectfully. Respect.
I'm Tiffany Tony. You can find me on Instagram at Tiffany_Tony_TV.
I'm Miko_rounds. That's on IG.
I'm Shelly Shell, Shelly Shell's IG, and Let's Talk Radio.
I'm D-Ran Anderson. You can find me on all social media as well as my website, dranderson.com.
And I'm Michael, and you can find me on all social medias at official Michael. That's official MYKELL.
Yay!
Yay.
Make sure you guys follow, like, subscribe, and share this with your friends. So
Let 'em know.
So you got something to talk about.
Yeah, killer boxes.
Bye.
Kill the boxes.